Hey guys, my name is Clifford Adams, and welcome to another episode of The World According to the Great One, where I said this week I would be doing 2 episodes. This is number 2. This episode is about the United Police State of America and our state of affairs with our police departments and the militarization of such. Now, lots of things to get through. I'm going to get through them in a short amount of time, so I'm going to start with what I usually start with at the beginning. I'm going to start with the facts. Let's start with the militarization of our police. Last few years, we have spent over $5 million in getting over tens of thousands of rifles and over 200,000 magazines to arm our police. You would think we'd be fighting this war on terror, but we're not. This is the guns turning on their own people, so to speak. Once again, the government taking its liberties of who you vote for in office to turn around and say, fuck you, and the money that you just spent on this, because we're in power and we no longer care about you, the American people. Now, let's talk about the raids of these military police now. We're going to talk about the SWAT team, for example. SWAT teams, what they usually do is they go in and they kick doors and they go get the war on drugs. They go get the bad people, so to speak. But do they really? Here's what happens in these SWAT raids. On these SWAT raids, 62% of them are because of drugs. Not violent people. Not people out here committing rape and murder and sodomy and all these other things. People who are basically committing crimes on themselves. Or actually not really committing crimes on themselves. People that are really only hurting themselves. Because that's what drugs are. By definition, you're hurting yourself. 80% of these raids are just solely to give out warrants to the people that they're intending to seize and search. See, that's interesting because that's just saying that we're using our tax dollars for these people just to run up in your house, just to see what's going on, just say, hey, we're the local SWAT team. What's going on? What's up? That's what you're using your tax money on. Now, only 7% of all SWAT team raids are incidents in where there is a shooting involved. That's an extremely low number. What that tells me is that their job is to basically go after or basically continue this war on drugs. A war that's really imaginary because we found out that secret 30 some odd years ago. I mean, stop give up the charade. So now, another 36% is when absolutely nothing was found. Nothing. See, that's interesting as well. Because about 40% of the time, people that you're kicking in, you don't find absolutely anything at all. Which means you just basically damage their property for little to no reason. Now, let's go to the confidence in our police departments. Now, from a national average, 56% of people, of all adults, have confidence in the police department. Another 30% some of the time, another 15% or 14%, I rounded up a little bit, but 14%, not so much. So then you take it, the split between black and white America. So white Americans have confidence 60% of the time. On the 29% of the time, some of the time, 12%, so little or no at all. Now you look at the numbers for Black Americans. 37% of the time they have confidence. The equal number in some of the time, and 20% for none at all. Now see, the numbers are staggering, although they shouldn't be that surprising because you would think the higher number, you would think that they all, that same number of people trust the judicial system. And actually, both numbers are actually quite even when you look at Black and white Americans. It's about even, about 25% on both sides don't trust the judicial system or have confidence in it. Another 40% or another 35% have some, and then the rest really don't at all. So those numbers are about even. But let's just say it's just for confidence in the system. We already know a system that's geared more towards the Caucasian American, those numbers are going to be higher. That shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. However, Black males are 21 more times likely to be shot by police officers at a rate of 31 per 1 million Black Americans, as opposed to 1.5 per 1 million for whites. Staggering. Now, let's go with another number. Let's go with the stop and frisk, for example. That's been deemed unconstitutional. 9 out of 10 of these stop and frisks just complain, just nothing. These people were completely innocent. However, the numbers also lean towards where there is a skewed look, because it's 75% Black, the other 10% are Latino, and then you split up the numbers with Asian and white Americans. And you would think, with these numbers being disproportionate, that leads up to the rate in which Black Americans are being arrested and locked up at, because we only make up 12% of the population. Although we're about 3 to 10 times more likely to be arrested and charged with crimes. And actually, we do end up doing more time than our white counterparts for the exact same crime. And it's actually also been proven that white Americans actually do commit more crimes than Black Americans. It's just that they're not being arrested at the same rate and being charged with the same amount of time. Now, let's take our recent events. Let's take the events with Trayvon Martin being killed by George Zimmerman, who we all know, minding his own business, Super Bowl Sunday, and he gets killed by neighborhood watchman, wannabe Captain Save-A-Ho, George Zimmerman. Who, mind you, he's the one that has a violent history. He should not own a gun. He should have not owned a gun. And yet he approaches this young man. And because Trayvon Martin decided to fight back with his hands, he left, pulled a gun, and killed this kid. Now, this kid was not much bigger than the kid was not much bigger than George Zimmerman. Because George Zimmerman was only, 5'6"? About 175, 180 pounds? Trayvon Martin at the time was 5'10". He actually weighed a little bit less than he did. We all know that George Zimmerman's family is well off and actually worked in the judicial system themselves in that exact same county. Therefore, you really weren't going to see justice in that system. And we all knew this going in. So we shouldn't be surprised. Look what happened to Sean Bell. His wedding day, he gets gunned down by 5 officers. I do have those officers' names, by the way. Names are as followed, which is Officers Paul Headley, Michael Carey, Mark Cooper, Gerard Isnora, and Michael Olive. They weren't even shot him and his 2 friends, but Bell ended up being killed. 3 people shot over 50 times. These people were unarmed, mind you. Now, see, here's the more interesting thing. They weren't charged. These officers weren't charged with murder. They were charged with second and third degree manslaughter. Now, you guys know that New York laws are relatively weak when it comes to arresting somebody with murder and manslaughter charges. They would have only done maybe a year. And that's in prison. They were acquitted of all charges. Oh, we can go 20 years, we can go 23 years back, and we can go to Rodney King. Beaten on camera. For minutes and minutes on end. On camera. These officers walk. Hence the LA riots on April 29, 92. We can go even more recent. Eric Garner. Another thing caught on video. He gets choked out by an officer. Choked out. Mind you, minding his own business. He was already apprehended when he was choked out. It has just been informing, as of a couple hours ago, this officer, by the name of Daniel Panaleo, will not be charged. Grand jury chose not to indict again. Recently, Michael Brown shot 6 times in Miller Street in Ferguson. Dead. Shot by Officer Darren Wilson. And once again, drag your fucking feet, those in power. Because once again, another cop runs free. See, this trickles all the way down. See, this is where this trickle-down effect, this is it at its finest. Starting with President Obama, you have let a lot of people down on this particular issue. Instead of militarizing these police, what you should do, you should really stand the fuck up, hold your nuts for one time in this office against not only the other Democrats, but also the Republicans. And you should probably do something about this. You should probably for once speak your mind on how you really feel about something and what you're gonna fucking do about it. The former Attorney General Eric Holder. You nutless. Seriously, nutless. I cannot believe that it's actually part of your responsibility to make sure justice is being served, and you walk out. See, people knew when you walked out. They knew what was going to happen. And you did that. You let a lot of people down. Now let's go a little bit further down. I think people are getting tired of these officers getting away with something that a lot of people who are not wearing a uniform don't get away with. Because police, like a lot of other things, have their own subculture. They protect their own. It's the badge. But see, here's where the problem is, Americans. Whether you be black, white, Asian, or whatever, guess what? You give them that power. And I'm going to speak especially to black Americans on this particular instance for a minute. Brothers and sisters, what we need to do, we need to stop ignoring the rights that we have and start fucking using them. Turn off your fucking love and hip hop. Stop watching World Star. Stop trying to get to the mall and wait in the line for 8 hours to get the latest pair of Jordans. Stop. Because there's way more important shit to do than that. Don't even watch CNN or whatever it is, because they're not telling you the whole truth either. But what you should do is start informing yourself. Wake up. There is some important shit going on around you, and it needs your attention. It used to be a funny joke that it was in a movie. It's a movie called, and it was, by the way, Don't Be a Man, it's South Central, drink your juice in the hood. See, it was a joke when people said that most black men don't make it to the age of 21. Now, see, even then, the joke was told in truth. That's still true today. Now, the majority of these men that I just named that were killed are under the age of 25. And Gardner being the oldest. Trayvon was 17. Michael Brown, 18. Sean Bell, I believe, was 25. See, the thing that makes it even more interesting is the simple fact that as I listened to a lot of these cops' comments, and I did see the interview with Darren Wilson. As much as I didn't watch him, I did. And I didn't watch this interview. And he said that he was comparing Michael Brown to not only a beast because he said he charged at him, but he was comparing this young kid to Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan? Really? See, we ignore the fact that Officer Darren Wilson himself is 6'4.5" and 225 pounds. So this precedent is basically being set that black men, if you are over 6 feet tall and you weigh over 200 pounds, chances are you're probably going to get shot when you get pretty sure you're going to get shot, because guess what? You're threatening the policeman because you're bigger than him. And not just because you have a bigger dick than him or a bigger balls than him. It's because your overall appearance is frightening. See, this thing with the police, not only with the militarizing, but the racial side of it, the ethnic side of it, and even the class level side of it, is that as Americans, we all should be ashamed of ourselves that we continue to allow this shit happen over and over and over again. It's like every 6 months it happens again. But see, here's the interesting thing. Because now, some of you as black people are starting to get tired of this same cycle. And some of you are willing to do something about it. You should take a page out of this book. Be willing to die for what you believe in. Because if you believe in that something's wrong, you should be willing to die for what you believe in. You should be willing to sacrifice everything to make sure that things are done correctly, that things are fair, things are just, that things are done the right way. I think our society, we're very passive now. We let too much slide. We're willing to let these little punk-ass white kids who go around shoot up schools and churches and movie theaters and blow up buildings and the whole 9 yards. And then when it's time for them to get their day in court, Everybody feels sorry for these people. And then they want to be deemed insane. But when a black kid goes out and he does something similar, oh, he's just a thug. He's a nigger. He's an animal. He's not human. His strength was like Hulk Hogan. I was threatened for my life. See, these sentiments we hear time and time again on television, and they need to quit. Police brutality against anybody is wrong, period. But see, we need to start doing what other countries aren't afraid to. Start putting cameras on these officers. How about we stop giving these officers guns? How about we stop giving them ammunition? How about we stop arming them altogether? Because then this will teach them how to use other ways to defuse situations than to go in and shoot and ask later. There's an option. Or the other option is you keep arming them. Let them be the extension of our United States military. And sooner or later, they will go down. Because the American people are tired of this. The United Police State of America has become everything that they hated. They have become Britain. They have become Rome. They have become ancient Greece. They have become Nazi Germany. They have become Soviet Russia. They have become Spain, Portugal, France. And what happened to all these great empires? They fell. America is the lone superpower. And if this keeps allowing to be happening, America too will fall. It is about time, as Americans, you get busy fighting for what you believe in, or you get busy being the page in history that gets stepped on. Which side are you going to take? And I can honestly tell you, not choosing a side is just as bad as choosing the wrong one. My name is Clifford Adams. This show is The World According to the Great One, and I am against the policies that make this police state whole. I'm ready for action. Are you?